The power of working longer to increase your retirement sustainability, income sustainability in particular. So again, this is going to be part 2 of the maybe 2 or 3. Let's see, with time check. Okay, of the 3, maybe 2 or 3 part series on this study by John Shoven from Stanford and some other folks that they did research on to see if it makes sense for you to stay working in order to increase your retirement sustainability and increase your retirement income. And their argument is yes, that's the most important thing you can do when it comes to your financial stability. My argument, though, is also yes, but in a little bit different way. Not that you should continue to work, but we're going to show you why. We're going to dive into that here at part 2. So don't forget to subscribe down below, my friends. All right. So increasing sustainable lifetime standard of living is very expensive. At 62, the conversion factor for couples is 0.033267, which means that for every additional $100,000 that you annuitize, would raise your annual inflation-adjusted standard of living by $3,327. These quotes implicitly take into account the current real low interest rates and the anticipated mortality of today's retirement age individuals. All right, so I want to show you this because this is make sure we're going to go back to this right here. Oops, I went way over. All right, so we're going to show you this annuity chart because I think it's actually it's critically important. So what we're doing here is a lot, as we've already talked about the last thing about annuitizing for your optimal wealth. And a lot of people, I'm not annuitizing, but let's just say you do that because this is what the study shows. Here you are right here, $100,000 for a joint couple who's 62 years old, and this is a man and woman couple. They're going to net $3,327 a year inflation-adjusted income. That same $100,000, if they waited till they're 70, would net them about $4,400 or so. So you can see the amount that $100,000 buys increases by each and every year. That's a 33% roughly increase between 62 and 70, which is the exact same thing with Social Security. You take Social Security at 62, you get less of a payment. You take Social Security at 70, you get more of a payment. Why? Because you're more likely to die here. You're closer to death at 70 than you are to 62. So from an actuarial table, it's all the same to the insurance company. They say, you're going to die in 25 years, you're going to die in 17 years, we're going to pay the same amount. Now, if you're a male and just using a single life, your $100,000 will get you about $4,200 a month in inflation-adjusted income. If you wait till you're 70, it gets you about $5,700 a month, a year in inflation-adjusted income. Right? Yeah, a year. Because men die sooner. That's all there is to it. And a single life is just you. Once you die, the payment stops. Once you die down here, the payment continues on for your surviving spouse. So I thought that's pretty interesting. The longer you wait, the more benefits you can get from annuitizing a portfolio, which goes back into their whole scenario of why working longer. Oops, I keep going to that wrong one. Why working longer increases your retirement sustainability, because they're saying you're adding more to your retirement pot. You're taking out none from your retirement pot while you're still working, and you're increasing your Social Security benefit. Inherently makes sense. We're going to go into this a little bit here too. All right. Let's see. Financial planners often use replacement ratios like the one they talked about before, which is your pre-retirement income needs. Your pre-retirement income versus your retirement income needs. How much you need in retirement versus how much you're using when you didn't retire. These ratios are a rule of thumb deriving from the life cycle framework. And Schultz and Shardy show that optimal replacement rates derived from a life cycle model vary greatly by household. For example, a couple with children should target a lower replacement rate than a couple without children, as a former, the couple with children, old Josh, can reduce child care expenses during retirement. I don't have to pay for braces. I don't have to pay for basketball shoes, field trips, the whole thing. In addition, there's been some debate regarding the appropriate denominator. It just says how much do you really spend more in retirement or less. There's not really much of a debate anymore, but that's fine. The optimal replacement ratio can vary greatly depending on the choice of the denominator. Yep. In our stylized example, since we assume a 0% wage growth, both economy-wide and for the individual, all denominator choices are equivalent. So you're comparing apples to apples, all right? And they do not take a stand on the optimal retirement replacement ratio because you can't take a stand on it. I mean, at the end, we just don't know. What do you need in retirement relative to the income you're making now is completely different on the guy next door. You just don't know. So you just can't have in general 80% or 70% rule. It doesn't make sense. It's got to be more specific than that. So I actually appreciate that very, very much that these guys are saying that, because I 100% agree. Let's keep going down here. All right. So, okay. Despite 30 years of saving 9% of earnings, the annuitized 401k balance for only 19.4% of retirement income, with Social Security accounted for the remainder. This fact alone highlights the incredible value of Social Security. If our stylized primary earner delays retirement by 1 year to 67, again, where we're delaying retirement also means we're delaying Social Security. There are 4 impacts on retirement income. The annuity is cheaper, right? Taking an annuity at 66 costs more than taking at 67, because you're 1 year likely to die, closer to death at 67. Wealth increases by the return on assets, because again, we're initially saying the asset base only gave us a real rate of return of 0. That's after inflation, kept up with inflation, that's it. Wealth increases by the additional contributions, and Social Security benefit increases by 8% over and above inflation, because remember, Social Security has cost of living adjustments and has 8% increase on top of that. Let's keep diving down here. I think that's so doggone important. Those are the 4 things about working longer. So we can conclude that by working 1 year longer, retirement income has increased by 7.75%. This increase is weighted as the average of 8% increase in real Social Security and the 6.7% increase in the real value of the annuity payment obtained from the higher 401k balance. Okay, so this is critical. The weights are based on each share. Social Security share is 81% and your 401k is 19%. Interesting. Now discuss the relative importance of each of the 4 impacts on retirement income listed. Remember, let's just look at it. So I show you page 10 PDF. I'll show it to you. So relative. So I'm just telling you, man, this is where it's going to get fun. All right. So we see all these numbers and we're saying, oh man, those numbers, I can't follow that. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. I'll show you the quote here, right? No. I thought I said page 10. Maybe it's down here, right here. Oh, where is it here? Hold on just a second. I got to show you the right here. Okay. So there's 4 impacts on increasing your income in retirement. Number 1, we have a total of increase of 100%. So that's our total. We're going to increase it by $10. Of that $10 increase, from where does the money increase come from? 8.2% comes from because you're a year older. So every year you age, you get an extra 8% in income from your annuity. That sounds like something. 8.6% because you've added more to your portfolio. Actually, increasing your rates of return does no impact whatsoever. The biggest thing is increasing your contribution. You've made more, you put more into it, and you've taken none out. So you're basically a double whammy. You're adding to it. On top of it, you're not taking it out, and you're getting older. So you're 1 year closer to death. 8.2, 8.6, but the hugest, 83.1%. The decomposition shows that 83% of the impact of delaying retirement comes from additional Social Security benefits. The rest comes from roughly equal impacts of cheap annuity and additional contribution. 83% of increasing your income in retirement is from delaying Social Security. You see where I'm going with this? Do you have to continue to work in your crappy old job in order to delay Social Security? No, you don't. Interesting. What does that mean then? Well, let's keep going down. If 83% is contingent on delaying Social Security, I'm going to say this again. The decomposition shows that 83% of the impact of delaying retirement, what they're saying is to continue to work, comes from additional Social Security benefits. Even though they're saying taking additional Social Security benefits by delaying retirement means you're continuing to work. We can also consider the range of increasing investment returns, real investment returns after inflation, from 0 to 8%. Let's see. Do I have it? The second column of table 2 reports the growth of retirement income relative to the baseline as a result of 1 year of additional work. The results suggest that the impact, and this is pretty important, the impact Relative impact of working longer is fairly insensitive to asset returns. 1 year of additional work raises retirement income by roughly 8% for real returns of 0 to 3%. And then the income rises gradually to 10% in the case of 8% total return. So basically saying if you got real returns of 0 to 3% and you worked an additional year, you increase your retirement income by about 8%. If you got 8 to 9, 10% real returns, you would increase your standard of living by 10%. So essentially, a quadrupling of your rates of return would give you a 25% increase in your standard of living. All right. And a quadrupling of that rate of return would be a huge quadrupling of your risk, too. So working longer, i.e., deferring Social Security, gives you a whole lot more increase in your retirement income ability, increase of your retirement income stream of income than it does if you have a higher rate of return in retirement or by a pretty significant amount. I mean, I cannot stress enough. Increase your risk and it will increase your return, your income by about 25%, but you're increasing your risk by 400%. 400% higher risk for a 25% rate of return income increase, not a good trade-off from the risk return category. It's just not. Let's keep going down. All right. However, even when asset returns are very high, the impact of Social Security still dominates the increase in retirement income. The number one thing when it comes to increasing your retirement income by far and away, even with high, in fact, I'd say even not realistic returns, we're talking 8, 9, we're talking 10, 11, 12% before inflation, is Social Security. The impact of Social Security still dominates the increase in retirement income. So again, these guys are saying the increase in retirement income through Social Security is the number one contingency. It is. And they're saying, so work longer, i.e. to delay taking Social Security because that is the biggest impact on your retirement income standard of living as you go forward. But that doesn't mean you have to work longer. It just means defer taking Social Security. The results are unequivocal. Primary earners of ages 62 to 69 can substantially increase their retirement standard of living by working longer. The longer work can be sustained, so the more longer you work in your crappy old job, the higher the retirement standard of living is. For example, retiring at 66 instead of 62 can increase your living standard by about a third. But remember, they're assuming you're retiring, and that's the same time you're taking Social Security. So they're saying work from 62 to 66 also means you're not taking Social Security from 62 to 66. What I'm saying is quit your job at 62, live off your retirement assets to delay taking Social Security, and that's going to be almost the same because Social Security is about 80 to 83% of the total increase of your retirement increase in sustainability. The other is a factor if you're getting older, you're getting closer to taking annuity, your portfolio is not being tapped as soon. But the predominant, the vast amount is your Social Security income. It's not working longer. They're just saying working longer, but they could have said the exact same thing when it comes to delaying taking Social Security. Quit earlier, just don't take Social Security. But they're saying working longer is synonymous with not taking Social Security until you retire. And I'm saying you don't need to do that. You don't need to split them up. All right. As we will show in section 3, no reasonable amount of additional savings could impact the retirement standard of living so significantly. So you can save, hopefully take more risk. That is secondary. Third, it's not even spitting distance of the impact of taking Social Security later. Oh man, I just cannot stress that enough. The second result observed in the table is that the returns to working longer decrease as earnings increase. A decomposition of the 4 impacts, we talked about that, reveals that the first 3 impacts, cheaper annuity, returns to wealth, and additional contribution are constant across wage levels. However, the Social Security impact changes. Social Security share of the final retirement income increases. The weight on the AIME becomes lessened because Social Security is a progressive. The more income you make, the less benefits you're going to get from Social Security. Thus, an 8% growth in Social Security benefit has a higher weight for workers of the lower wage, which translates to higher returns for additional work in a year. So the more money you make, the less it means to continue to work, because Social Security is geared towards those on the lower end. So I'm making $150,000. You're not increasing your Social Security that much relative to someone who's making $40,000. And I've said that a couple of videos before. All the above analysis was for the primary worker of a couple. In that case, Social Security benefits are paid in the form of a second-to-die annuity, and we assume that private retirement wealth is converted into the same form, i.e. a second-to-die annuity. We now address how working longer impacts retirement living standard for single people. While the increase in Social Security is the same as our base, the annuity factors are different because single people have cheaper annuities because they're not going to have a survivor benefit. 100%, and we already talked about that, so I'm not really going to dive into that. So let's keep going down here. Okay, so basically annuity is going to, the increase in lifetime retirement is always great for, the increase in lifetime retirement income is always greater for married couples compared to single, as a higher income is paid out as a second-to-die annuity on top of Social Security. So all we're saying here is we're just saying at the end of the day, if you're single, it's cheaper to buy an annuity because there's no second person to benefit, and it's also cheaper for you to delay taking Social Security. I don't need to say cheaper, but it makes more sense because there's no person to benefit. But every situation is different, if that makes sense. So if you're single, taking an annuity makes more sense because you get more bang for your buck. Does it make more sense to delay taking Social Security? Well, the answer is yes, but you're not going to leave it as an impact to your surviving spouse. So let's just put it that way. An alternative way to boost retirement living is to save more. We've already talked about that. It just does not matter that much unless you start from a young age at 36 and you save 1% more. So suppose that our stylized primary earner worker saves 1% more of wages starting at age 36. That is, they move from 6% to 7% personal contribution rate with a 3% employer match. So they're saving 10% as opposed to 9%. If the higher rate of contributions were saved for the entire 30 years, that would have, then the replacement rate would rise to 33% to 52% from the base of 53% from the base of 52%, translates in 2.16% in retirement income. That's nothing. I mean, so if you save an extra, 12.5 percentage points a year from 9 to 10 for each year of your 30 years of working, it's going to translate into an extra 2% of your retirement spending income. Not a big deal. We can get that by working an extra year is what these guys are saying, extra couple months, delaying Social Security. Delaying retirement by 1 year is roughly 3.5 times as impactful as saving an additional 1% of Social Security. To put it another way, working just over 3 months longer, i.e. delaying retiring, would have the same impact of a 1 percentage point in increase in the contribution rate. I think that's pretty amazing. All right. I pretty much want to stop there. The reason is because I think I've hit the point on the head here. There's a couple of things that'll help you. Let's see. And we talked about saving more, working longer for Social Security. We talked about a high wage worker to the lower wage worker need only work 2.1 months to equivalent the benefit of 30 years of savings because Social Security is progressive. The higher wage worker has to work longer because they don't get as much on the higher end. So I want to stop here because at the end of the day, I think I made my point. What they're saying is the way you can increase your retirement income and have more retirement is working longer. And they're working longer synonymously with delaying taking Social Security. And I completely agree with that. But the reason for that is because your Social Security represents such a significant impact of your retirement income. So the longer you delay taking Social Security, the more benefit you're going to have, sustainable benefit from an annuity that is adjusted for inflation each and every year. So some of the other strategies are you could buy an annuity with some of your 401k money. And the way to increase your income there is to buy an annuity as you get older because it's more expensive. It's less expensive to you because you're more likely to die sooner. I mean, again, an annuity at 62 versus an annuity at 70, we already showed you that the 62 one is significantly more expensive for the same amount of income. Work longer, you're adding to your portfolio, which is good, and you're also not taking from your portfolio, which is good. It's just not that significant. It'll give you about an 8% of the 100% of the $100. So let's just say using $100 that increases your retirement income, $8 will be generated because you're getting older from your buying an annuity. $8 will be simply due to the fact that you've added more to your portfolio and you haven't taken money out. The rest has come from increase in Social Security. contributing more, having taken on more risks, it's just not worth it. The number one thing to do is to defer Social Security by far. Nothing even comes close. Nothing even comes close. So if you're 62 and you say, I got to work another 5 years, this you would think would prove that, but it doesn't prove it. It says, no, defer taking Social Security is by far and away the number one thing you can do. Taking on more risk, adding more to your portfolio does not get the job done relative to the one thing only, which is deferring taking Social Security. And from a way second place, we're talking way back second place, is earning, getting older, where you can take an annuity because they'll pay you more because you're going to be older next year than this year. That's number 2. And that's it. Everything else is secondary. So when you see work longer and increase your retirement income, it's actually work longer to, let me get someone from Columbia's calling me. It's actually work longer in order to defer taking Social Security. That is a lesson, my friends. Defer, defer, defer. I hope this helps. I know there's a lot going on here. Don't forget to subscribe. I'd love to hear your comments on this for sure. I can dive into this deeper if you need. I'll put links to the show notes. But as always, you got questions, thoughts, concerns, comments, thumbs up, and we'll see you next time. Thanks, guys.